Bro, we have just got a real-life prison break. 10 prisoners have just broken out of jail in New Orleans, and they had the audacity to leave a note behind saying, "Too easy, lol." Although they did misspell too.
Today we're looking at mysterious TikToks that are too weird to be true.
This man raised his hand in 1973 and has kept it that way for more than 50 years.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you to all the channel members for support. I now have 18 channel members. I mean, maybe I gained another one and I didn't know, because like nowadays I'm actually gaining like a lot of channel members. So if you haven't joined the fam, make sure to join the fam. As y'all know, when I start dropping merch or any sort of items, my day one channel members will get some of those items discounted and free. If you haven't joined the fam, make sure to join the fam. Our goal is to get to 20 members. We're at 18 right now. Make sure to join. We're also 800 subscribers away from 60,000 subs, so make sure to join the fam. And as y'all know, the like goal, of course, is 2,000 likes. So let's try to hit that like goal. Let's go.
In 1973, an Indian man decided he was going to raise his hand and never put it back down. But in order to carry out his mission, he of course decided that he must abandon his family. For the first 2 years of his journey, he experienced severe arm pain. But luckily, the pain went away when his arm completely lost sensation altogether. As the years went on, all the muscle in his arm completely shriveled away, and his fingernails grew into spiraling talons. By this point, he couldn't even put it down if he wanted to, because his arm became locked in an upright position. The man's arm is still raised today, 52 years later.
Yo, when I heard that story at first, I was like, that's gotta be fake. Like, there's no way. What purpose would a guy have to have his hand up the whole, like his whole life? Like, what was the purpose? Turns out it's actually a real story.
This man raised his hand in 1973 and has kept it that way for more than 50 years. Amar Bharati says it is a testament to his devotion to the Hindu deity Shiva and a call for world peace.
Yeah, I don't know.
If every passenger on the plane was obese, this extra weight could strain the engines, making it hard for the plane to lift off. To prepare for this, the airline could choose random passengers to leave, which would lighten the load, or instead can cause nosebleeds, sometimes requiring a surgery.
No, that is crazy. I did more research on it, and let's see if I can show you guys what they said happened. So I'm pretty sure they're saying that, let me see. Man falls from basket of hot air balloon after it caught on fire in Zacatecas, Mexico. The man was seen hanging onto a rope as the balloon continued to go higher in the sky. The incident unfolded when the basket caught fire on the ground. In a final act of selflessness, the man was able to help the other two escape, but he unfortunately got tangled in the ropes. No. Still tangled, the hot air balloon began to rise into the sky. The man, who sadly fell to his death, no, that's gotta be painful, was identified as 40-year-old Lucio N, according to police. Oh nah. Dude, that's gotta be scary. Like, just imagine hanging on for your dear life from a burning hot air balloon and then falling to your death. R.I.P. Lucio.
A ship has just crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Here's what you need to know. Videos posted online show a massive Mexican Navy sailing ship with 145-foot masts smash into the underside of New York's Brooklyn Bridge, while people on the ground start running away thinking it could crash into the walkways too. Its masts were sheared off, and to make things worse, there was 277 people on board at the time. And if you look closely, there was a number of sailors actually on the ship's masts at the time of impact, all lined up as a display holding hands. So when it hit, it was pretty devastating. 2 were killed because they had an over 100-foot fall, and 22 more were injured, with 19 of them having to be taken to hospital. Some insane pictures show after impact a bunch of them holding on literally for survival. Now, as you'd imagine, being New York, there was a huge response from emergency services, and the Brooklyn Bridge was closed down both ways for around 40 minutes. Now, you'll be glad to hear that this is believed to be an accident, with initial reports suggesting that the ship had a mechanical error and lost power. It was actually on its way to Iceland as part of a goodwill tour, but now has been forced to dock at a nearby pier, and all passengers have disembarked. Of course, as we know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
Dude, what is going on? Apparently the guy that also fell from the hot balloon, it was like a Mexican festival, And now this other Mexican event also ended in a tragedy. Mexico got to get their stuff together. Like, what the hell's going on? Sadly for the bridge incident though, I think 2 people died. So RIP to them, but a lot of other people were injured. But other than that, I think everything else was good. I don't think the bridge sustained any injuries. But it's just the 2 people that died. That was really sad.
You need it, ring it a little bit, and go to work.
In 2025, a random Texas woman got a DM from Morgan Wallen. He said that he wanted her to be his girlfriend, and she gladly accepted. He then proceeded to ask her to buy $18,000 worth of Apple Music gift cards for him, and he said the faster she did it, the faster they could be together. So, she did it. She fully trusted him because, after all, he did say he was the real Morgan Wallen. She trusted him enough, actually, to give him her social security, phone number, home address, bank account information, and credit card information. To her extreme surprise, the woman discovered that the person that she'd been giving money to was not, in fact, Morgan Wallen. By this point, she was $18,000 in debt.
Say you fall overboard in the middle of the ocean. Whoops! Your best chance of survival, swim to the nearest land. But what if there isn't one? There's a place like that, known as Point Nemo. It's the most remote location in the ocean, the farthest you can get from any land in any direction. In fact, land is nearly 1,700 miles away, no matter which way you go. It's so isolated that astronauts on the International Space Station are actually closer to it than any human on Earth. And that's why it's the perfect place to crash space junk. Hundreds of old satellites, rockets, and even space stations have been dumped here. For years, no one had ever even passed by Point Nemo until a yacht in the Volvo Ocean Race did in 2018. The only thing they found? Plastic. Despite being invisible on the surface, this spot has some eerie secrets, like the bloop, a strange deep underwater sound recorded in the late 90s. Scientists say it was probably icebergs breaking apart. Others say it's aliens or unknown creatures, but imagine you somehow end up in Point Nemo. What would you do?
So what happens if you don't sleep for an entire year? Well, this YouTuber is about to find out. Now his name is Ricard, and Ricard is in his 40s, and he's a tattoo artist living in Philadelphia. And he has a couple of YouTube channels where he posts a lot of videos, mostly of him tattooing people. But one day in 2015, his life changes, and it starts when he gets a really bad urinary tract infection. Like, it's so bad he can barely work. But unfortunately, he doesn't have health insurance, so he can't go to the doctor to get it looked at because he can't afford it. Welcome to America. So he goes to his boss at his second job. I guess he has a couple of jobs. And he asks his boss for advice. And his boss recently had a UTI, and he has some leftover antibiotics lying around that he never used. And so he gives these to Ricard. And so about a day later, bam, he starts feeling better. And so he keeps taking them. But then, on the 3rd night, he wakes up and something weird is going on. Everything seems to be shaking like there's an earthquake, but there isn't an earthquake. It's his head, and his spine, and his feet. Something is very off. But still, he summons the strength to go to work the next day, and he notices he's getting dizzy and his head feels foggy, plus his body is getting weaker and weaker. And so after work, he calls up his sister, who is some kind of nurse, and he tells her about the antibiotics that he's taking, and she says, yeah, you're taking the right stuff that everyone takes. And so he's like, all right, and he keeps taking them, and things continue to get worse. And pretty quickly, he's all messed up. Like, his back burns all day and night, it feels like his kidneys are damaged, his joints are in pain, and suddenly he has tinnitus. Something definitely isn't right. But he keeps taking these pills, hoping to get better, and he keeps fighting these intense, painful symptoms. And it's some of the worst pain he's ever felt in his entire life. And after a period of time, he's finished the antibiotics. He's done. And his urinary tract infection seems to be gone. So that's nice. But it's around this time that he realizes he isn't able to sleep anymore. Not like, oh, I barely got any sleep last night, but literally no sleep at all. He just lays there all night with really bad insomnia. And this lack of sleep is making him feel like shit all day. And if that isn't bad enough, suddenly, boom, his mom gets sick back in Indonesia, where he's originally from. And so he has to take his sick ass and travel there, and he flies from Philadelphia all the way over to Indonesia to see his mom, to spend time with her before she passes. And while he's there, he's finally able to see a doctor to figure out what the hell is wrong with him. And so this doctor checks him over and basically says, yeah, you have insomnia. You need some sleep. And once you sleep, all this other stuff that's wrong with you will start to feel better. And then the doctor prescribes him some sedatives to help knock him out. So then Richard starts taking sedatives, but unfortunately they don't really work. No matter how many he takes, he's still not sleeping. I mean, if he's lucky, on a good night, he'll get maybe 2 hours if he takes a bunch of them. And if you're like, Ray, why are you telling us this story about a guy who has trouble sleeping? Because here's the thing about not being able to sleep. Long-term sleep deprivation can actually cause you to get sick as your immune system starts failing and your organs slowly shut down. Once your organs start shutting down, you could actually die. So yeah, I mean, it's not very likely, but in theory, not sleeping for long periods of time can actually unalive you. And that is what Ricard seems to be worried about. So anyway, a couple of months pass, and it's now 2016. So Ricard's problem has been going on for a long time. I mean, he's still in Indonesia, and at this point, he's so sick from lack of sleep that he's basically bedridden, and therefore, he's trapped there in Indonesia. So, what does he do? He starts making YouTube videos again from his bed.
Hi, I'm making this video hoping that there's some people out there are able to help me.
And he decides to document everything that's going on with him.
So it's been 4 months and my body is deteriorating right now because my immune system is falling from not able to sleep.
And by now, the sedatives that the doctor gave him have completely stopped working, no matter how many he takes. And so Ricard starts begging the internet to help him figure out what's wrong with him. He even offers to allow doctors to experiment on him to see what's wrong.
Use me as your model, as a guinea pig, because I know I'm gonna be falling soon. I know I'm dying soon.
And so he keeps not sleeping, living in pain, and posting videos trying to document everything that's going wrong with him. And he films himself as he tries to fall asleep, and just as he's almost out, his body will react and jerk himself awake. Even the skin on his face starts to die and flake off, according to him. And you can see the flakes on his videos here. And so Ricard still feels awful. I mean, this chronic insomnia is killing him, and his only goal at this point is to get some proper rest. And he's tried everything. He would give up his own legs just for an uninterrupted nap.
I will give away my two legs from my thigh, cut it, take it as an exchange for sleeping even though 3 hours a day. That's how desperate I am.
And more months go by. And at this point, he's been bedridden in Indonesia for a whole year. And he's still documenting everything, and he's still begging the internet for help.
I cannot sleep anymore. The medicine doesn't work anymore. The sleeping drugs is not help anymore. And it's only causing more damage.
But no matter what he does, there's still no hope. He's starting to give up.
Still looking for an option, but I'm about to give up. To be honest, it's too much. It's everyday torture.
And deep down, he knows his body is giving up on him. So he just lies there in bed, in pain, while his body twitches 50 or so times a day.
Sounds negative, but I wanna die.
But then it gets worse. Because with insomnia like this, of course your body is affected, but eventually, so is your mind. And poor Ricard, he starts going crazy. His insomnia has been going on for so long that it's apparently giving him dementia, and it's starting to show. In his videos, all of a sudden, he's talking about things that just don't make sense.
God, in this case, is just a person. I found out that actually his name is Enki. He came here to this planet before we are exist.
And he's filming in the dark, rambling about conspiracy theories.
HIV is a virus is made by human, made by a drugs mafia, designed to fulfill their mission.
Then, at the end of 2016, he posts a YouTube video. And it's really dark, so it's hard to see, but this video is, unfortunately, his last one. Because his body finally gives out, and he passes away in his bed. He apparently had what's called fatal insomnia, which is an extremely rare neurological disease. I read that he had a really bad reaction to those antibiotics he took, which is also very rare, but which caused him peripheral neuropathy, which then led him to being in so much pain that he couldn't fall asleep. And his YouTube channel is still up, by the way.
He got a weird idea of spinning his Beyblade from the top of the building and down to the ground. According to the statements, he was expecting to unleash a Pegasus out of it. But when he spun the Beyblade, it landed directly onto the woman's head. The sharp metal pin pierced deeply inside the woman's head, resulting in a trip to ER.
Bro, we have just got a real-life prison break. 10 prisoners have just broken out of jail in New Orleans, and they had the audacity to leave a note behind saying, "Too easy, lol." Although they did misspell too. According to a local sheriff's office, they got out of their cells due to defective locks, which is believed to be a sign of an inside job, and then escaped the facility through a hole behind a toilet. It's always the toilet. They then broke through a bunch of metal pipes, ran across the yard, scaled the barbed wire fence with blankets, sprinted across the highway, and then disappeared from sight. So far, only 2 of the prisoners are being caught, while the other 8 men are still on the run and are believed to be armed and dangerous. The question is, which one's Teabag?
He said they're armed and dangerous. How would you be armed and dangerous when you literally just left the prison? You know what I'm saying? I don't think, I mean, they might be dangerous, but armed, unless they went home real quick, you know what I'm saying, and strapped up, I don't think they're going to be armed, in my opinion. Who knows, though? I could be wrong.
Its limbs snap forward faster than a bullet, shattering the glass with the force of a gunshot. This limb has a joint that's held in place by a structure in its shell, acting like a latch that locks everything tight. And when it releases, the limb shoots forward so fast that it creates a superheated bubble in the water. When this bubble collapses, it releases a powerful shockwave, delivering a second hit strong enough to break shells. A giant slingshot can be used to launch rockets into space. This works by spinning them in a huge circular chamber before launching them at hypersonic speeds. But this only works for small cargo rockets. If we tried to launch a manned rocket like this, the wind resistance would tear it apart as soon as it left the ground. Even if it did survive, the G-force would be thousands of times higher than a regular rocket launch. And this would crush both the rocket and the crew, making human travel impossible.
This was one of the most terrifying experiments ever conducted by Soviet scientists, the sleep deprivation trial. They selected 6 prisoners from a Soviet prison, offering them a deal to survive the experiment and walk free. The rules were simple. They would be locked in a sealed chamber with plenty of food, water, books, and newspapers, but with one catch: no sleep allowed. To enforce this, scientists pumped in a gas compound designed to keep them awake. At first, things were calm, but by day 6, one prisoner began talking to himself. By day 9, another had gone into a psychotic spiral, screaming non-stop, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Then came day 17. When scientists finally opened the sealed chamber, they were met with a nightmare. One prisoner was already dead. The others were barely human. Some had mutilated themselves, others had attacked each other, and yet all 5 still refused to sleep. Even worse, their physical strength had increased dramatically. It took an elite military team to intervene, and 2 soldiers were killed in the process. The experiment was shut down, but what really happened in that room still haunts the darkest corners of scientific history.
What's the weirdest reason a sports team won a game? Well, during a playoff game in 2007, the New York Yankees were 1-0 up against Cleveland in the 8th inning. Joba Chamberlain was pitching for the Yankees and the game seemed all but over. But then things changed dramatically. Unusually warm weather for October had caused the nearby Lake Erie to heat up, releasing a swarm of midges, and a strong gust of wind had blown the mosquito-like flies into Progressive Field, right onto Chamberlain. In a bid to repel the midges, Yankees coaches began dousing Chamberlain in bug spray. But being from New York, they were unaware that this would actually attract the midges. Local Clevelanders knew and said nothing, as Chamberlain was so engulfed by bugs that when he went to wipe sweat off the back of his neck, his hand appeared black with bugs. Unsurprisingly, he began pitching wildly and Cleveland tied the game before eventually winning it in the 11th.
Fun fact. Employers are preparing for another round of the GTA flu, where millions of Americans will take days off or use sick days so they can stay home and play the game. And it's estimated GTA 6's release could cost the US economy over $1 billion in lost productivity. This isn't anything new though. It really began with the Phantom Menace in 1999, when over 2 million Americans called into work sick so they could wait in line to watch the film's premiere, also known as the Star Wars sickness. And since then, the sickness has been repeated multiple times. When Halo 3 was released in 2007, so many people took sick days it was known as the Halo holiday. And when GTA 5 was released in 2013, millions of people took days off to play the game. Video game developers caught on to this, which is why Red Dead Redemption 2 and every Call of Duty after Advanced Warfare was released on a Friday to soften the blow to the global economy. But GTA 6 will be released on a Tuesday, and if historical trends hold true, it could cost the US economy over $1 billion in lost productivity.
I wonder how many of you guys took the days off in 1999 to watch that Star Wars movie. I forgot exactly what movie he was saying, but he was saying that it started in 1999 from this Star Wars movie where a lot of people are taking days off to watch it. So if you were one of those people, let me know down in the comments.
The only reason humans exist is because we have an entire army of cosmic bodyguards. Starting with the moon, whose massive size relative to Earth creates stable seasons and tides, while also absorbing countless impacts that would have hit us instead. Then Jupiter, our solar system's gravitational bouncer, is so massive it acts like a cosmic vacuum cleaner, capturing or redirecting space debris that might otherwise head our way. Without Jupiter, we'd face up to 10,000 times more asteroid impacts. Next is the Sun, which creates the heliosphere, a massive bubble of charged particles extending far beyond Pluto that shields us from deadly galactic radiation. Even Earth's magnetic field is working overtime, deflecting solar radiation that would otherwise strip away our atmosphere. Our ozone layer filters UV radiation that would otherwise destroy DNA. If any single one of these shields failed, complex life on Earth might be impossible. We're essentially living in a cosmic fortress with multiple layers of security, and most people have no idea how lucky we are.
Why it sucks to be born as a surgeon. You're born with a brain built for learning, but instead of a childhood, you get books and tutoring. In high school, you have no social life, only biology, chemistry, and physics. You get into medical school, and hell begins. Exams every week, coffee instead of lunch, naps on the library floor. After 6 years, you finally earn the title of doctor, only to work as a resident for less money than a supermarket cashier. Instead of dates, night shifts. Instead of vacations, sleepless nights in the ER. Finally, you become a surgeon. Your day is hours under surgical lights, sweat dripping down your back, and the knowledge that one wrong decision could ruin someone's life. If something goes wrong, it doesn't matter that you saved 99 people before. The world will only remember your failure. You have money, you have prestige, but you have no time, no health, and no friends. After 20 years of work, your hands start to tremble. Your spine aches from hours hunched over the operating table, and stress eats away at your health from the inside. You realize...
Man, this is some crazy shit. Did the former head of the FBI just call for Trump's assassination with a picture of shells? Well, the Secret Service and law enforcement are looking into exactly that claim, and it's got people going crazy online. So James Comey served as the head of the FBI between 2013 and 2017 before being fired by Trump. And yesterday he posted this picture saying, "Look at the cool shell formation that I just saw on my beach walk." So yeah, if you were confused as I was when I first saw this, 86 is said to mean like get rid of or kill something, and originated from an old mob term, while 47 is said to represent, 47th President Trump. Also, the term 8746 was used at an anti-Trump march last month. And again, this is said to be a thinly veiled call for, you know what, at the president. Now, this has actually gone past the little, talk online, and the Secret Service said that they are aware of this, and they are treating it as a potential threat. James himself has since deleted the post, and he shared a statement on Instagram saying that he assumed that this was a political message, but he said that he didn't realize some folks associated those numbers with violence. Keep in mind, this is the former head of the FBI. But then, in another weird twist, some people pointed out that the day that this picture was posted, it had been exactly 8,647 days since 9/11 took place. So, lot of weirdness.
A track marshal ran onto the track to extinguish a burning F1 car, but he didn't see another car speeding toward him. In an instant, the car struck him, throwing him into the air and killing him instantly. The fire extinguisher he was carrying flew into the driver's head, killing him on the spot.
Former U.S. President Joe Biden, 82, has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, his office announced on Sunday. The cancer has metastasized and spread to his bones, a statement on the diagnosis revealed. The announcement came just 1 week after reports revealed that a small nodule was found on Biden's prostate during a routine exam that needed further evaluation. A statement on the diagnosis explained, "Last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement from Biden's office claims that the form of cancer he has appears to be hormone sensitive and might be effectively managed by various treatments. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians.
Flock cameras are the main thing that law enforcement uses now to catch criminals. That's what it is. As clear as I can say it. What we'll do is I'll put a picture of a flock camera on this so that you'll see it. But they're everywhere. Once you see this thing, you're going to realize that you see them everywhere. It is a camera that is positioned to capture your license. That's what a flock camera is. But these cameras capture more than your license. They can capture the interior of your vehicle as you drive by these cameras, especially the positioning of the camera. And it's legal. And so what happens is this camera captures your tag. And when it captures your tag, it's able to detect where your vehicle has been anywhere in the United States where there are flock cameras. If you're in Georgia and you travel to New York, every time your vehicle tag gets captured by a flock camera, it is entered into a database and they are able to track it.
And check it out, guys. Ever since I saw this video, I see them everywhere. I never noticed them before. Wow.
I forgot the name of what the effect was, but it's one of those things where it's like, you're not really used to seeing red Audis, and now all of a sudden you bought a red Audi and now you notice that everyone around you have a red Audi, stuff like that. And yeah, ever since I watched that video, I've noticed a lot of flock cameras. So if you guys have ever seen flock cameras, like, just be on the lookout, and you'll probably see some just dropping down your street, and you wouldn't even notice what it was until now. So, you know what I'm saying? They're everywhere, which is actually crazy.
When you're stuck in traffic, you might assume there's an accident ahead, but sometimes the backup clears and there's no crash. So what happened? Well, anytime one car slows down, the driver behind them also has to hit their brakes, which causes the driver behind them to slow down as well. Eventually, someone down the line will come to a complete stop. And when this happens, the cars behind that driver also have to stop, causing a traffic jam without a clear, obvious reason. The Prairie Dog vacuum is placed over the tunnel entrance, creating a powerful suction. As the vacuum starts, the air pressure within the tunnel drops rapidly, pulling the Prairie Dog upward at nearly 50 miles per hour. The sudden rush of air lifts the animal out of its burrow and into the suction tube, where it's finally slowed down and dropped into a soft, cushioned chamber. This is where they stay until they are relocated.
DaBaby is the only person to get truly canceled. Before he was canceled, he was one of the biggest names in rap. He had songs with Drake. He was with Kanye West when he was promoting the album Donda. DaBaby was rapping with Prime Lil Baby. But for some reason, this bird-brained idiot decided to throw away his whole career. During DaBaby's Rolling Loud performance in 2021, he went on a very strange rant. He said if you didn't show up with HIV, AIDS, or any of those deadly diseases that make you die in 2 or 3 weeks, then put your cell phone in the air right now. He then said, ladies, if your cookie smells like water, put your phone up in the air right now. He then said, fellas, if you ain't sucked meat in the parking lot, put your cell phone in the air right now. After DaBaby said this, everybody in the crowd was silent. They had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. But after the videos went viral on the internet, he was canceled. If you're wondering why he was canceled, people said his comments were homophobic. If you're not really sure why, it's because the gay community has a stereotype that gay men have HIV or AIDS. This started back in the 1980s when our president Ronald Reagan, he called AIDS the gay disease. So gay men in America were seen as having AIDS. During the time that DaBaby was getting canceled, he had the #2 song on the Billboard Top 200. It was with Dua Lipa and it was called Levitating. After DaBaby went on that strange rant, this is what Dua Lipa had to say. I'm surprised and horrified at DaBaby's comments. I really don't recognize this as the person I worked with. Shortly after this, DaBaby was removed from the song. When DaBaby was getting canceled, he just started a brand deal with Boohoo Man. They came out and said they condemned the use of homophobic language and confirmed we will no longer be working with DaBaby. DaBaby was getting canceled so bad he was losing brand deals. But it only got worse. Just 6 days after DaBaby went on that strange rant, he was removed from performing at Lollapalooza. He was supposed to be performing there that night. Instead, they came out and said this: Lollapalooza was founded on diversity, inclusivity, respect, and love. With that in mind, DaBaby will no longer be performing at Grant Park tonight. DaBaby was starting to lose festivals and concerts. This is where rappers make most of their money. 2 days later, DaBaby was removed from another festival. This time it was the New York Governor's Ball. He was supposed to be performing on the same day as Billie Eilish, but after his strange rant, he was removed. That same day, DaBaby was removed from another festival. This time it's the Day in Vegas festival. He was supposed to be performing after Kendrick Lamar. It never happened. Fast forward to 2025, not much has changed. DaBaby has completely fallen off, and you only hear about him every now and then when he is freestyling on somebody else's song, which I would say is pretty sad because he is a very talented rapper.
I know they be saying that HIV/AIDS, according to Ronald Reagan, is the gay disease, but to be fair, a lot of those cases have been actually going around recently, and I've seen them a lot on TikTok. Apparently, this one girl, I forgot her name. I'm gonna see if I could find a video to put in right after I finish talking about this. But apparently, like, she infected 100 men with HIV. 100 men, dude? Like, that is insane. But apparently the hot spots right now is Philadelphia, Houston, Texas, and Miami. Those three areas right now apparently have like the most, like the highest increasing rates of HIV and AIDS. So if you're in Miami, I mean, I was just in Miami, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm not on that Diddy timing. So if you're in those areas, dude, you know what I'm saying? You gotta watch out, man. And I'm saying this is for straight people, like, you know what I'm saying? This is for straight men. It's not just only like LGBT. This is straight people that are also getting it. So
wow, guys, I just watched a video that I'm gonna post right now. It's about a girl, 23-year-old in Miami, Florida, who literally gave HIV to over 100 men. This hits close to home because I was involved with the married man, and or he had a baby mama, and I got checked for everything. So you never know. Watch the video. This is crazy.
I would not say it's the gay disease, at least in 2025.
The soldiers used flashlights to read messages. It made them an easy target for the enemy. To solve this, a French officer used raised dots instead of letters to read in total darkness. But the system was too complex, so it was scrapped. Then, a blind 13-year-old named Louis Braille simplified it, turning the raised dots into a readable alphabet. His high school for the blind started using it, but Braille was easy to learn, meaning students didn't need teachers to help them read. So the director chose a harder system to learn, just to keep the teachers needed. And it wasn't until 2 years later that Braille became widely used.
Do you remember this kid right here? His name was Perkio, and he ended up ruining his life by trying to impersonate his favorite celebrity. You see, Perkio was just a normal high school kid living a regular life until people started to take notice that he looks very similar to the rapper Lil Durk. And at first, this was just a little funny gimmick. Perkio wasn't really making any money from it, and he wasn't really that famous. But that was until he met this guy right here, a YouTuber by the name of King Sid. And King Sid basically wanted to collaborate with Perkio for a YouTube video. And in the YouTube video, they basically went to the mall and had Perkio pretend that he was Lil Durk. And they hired an entire camera crew and a bunch of security, and they made the whole thing look real. And this caused Perkio's career to explode to never-seen-before heights and even catch the attention of Lil Durk himself. It even got to the point where Lil Durk let Perkio impersonate him in one of his music videos. At this point, everything was looking great for Perkio. He was famous and making money. However, Perkio didn't account for one thing. You see, Lil Durk is a street rapper, and he has a lot of ops. And when you look like someone who has a lot of ops, it's really easy for the ops to mistake you as that person. Luckily, that's not what happened to Perkio. However, something really bad did end up happening. And this basically tarnished his career forever. A YouTuber by the name of Steve Will Do It saw viral potential in Perkio and decided to invite him to hang out and make some content. So Perkio agrees and he shows up to the location. However, what Perkio didn't know was that another rapper was going to be at this location, and that was 6ix9ine. Now, if you guys didn't know, 6ix9ine actually has beef with Lil Durk. And once Perkio arrived to the location, he immediately realized he was being set up. 6ix9ine and a bunch of his goons basically walked up to Perkio and started putting this jacket on him. However, this wasn't a regular jacket because on the back of the jacket was a picture of King Von. Now you're probably thinking, what's wrong with a jacket with a photo of King Von? If you guys didn't know, King Von is another rapper who was actually really close to Lil Durk, and he ended up passing away. So 6ix9ine basically did this as a way to mock Lil Durk. After this, the video started going viral and Perkio hopped on live to address it immediately. And he basically explained that Steve was actually the one who set him up. But then Steve made a response video saying that he didn't actually set up Perkio and that it was a misunderstanding. However, due to the fact that Steve and 6ix9ine were friends, it was really hard to believe. And the majority of the internet ended up siding with Perkio, because at the end of the day, he was just a kid who was taken advantage of. And I guess Steve realized this because he ended up uploading a video of him basically apologizing to Perkio and gifting him a bunch of money. However, none of this really helped because Perkio's career was literally ruined. Now, Lil Durk hasn't really said anything about the situation, and the last we've seen from Perkio was him stressing over the fact that he doesn't know if Lil Durk is cool with him or not. It's a really messed up situation, but at the end of the day, I hope things get better for Perkio.
Bro, why has no one told me about how insane Indian fairs are? For example, this is the Chicha Vitricha fair, where it's completely normal to have dozens of rides of questionable stability spinning right over the heads of the packed crowds below. And no one even cares about how close they get. This is normal. And in India, they're not just fairs. They're huge cultural and religious events that attract millions of people across the country. In fact, in some regions, villages will just be left deserted because everyone is attending their local fair. And in many communities, this is actually where men are encouraged to go and look for a potential wife. Although, looking at the packed crowds and the steam or dust floating in the air, not sure if it's the most romantic place for bro to make a move. So the question is, would you go to an Indian fair or not?
Why did this secretly gay pro football player murder a bunch of people? Now, his name is Aaron, and Aaron's 20 years old during this time, and he's playing football in college, and the dude is really good. I mean, he dominates at this. And one day in 2010, his whole life changes because he gets drafted into the NFL to play for the Patriots. And this is a huge deal for him. And over the next couple of years, Aaron totally kicks ass as a tight end for this team. And in 2012, they even make it all the way to the Super Bowl. And so now, bro is ballin'. He ultimately signs a 5-year, $40 million contract extension with the Patriots, and he gets a $12.5 million signing bonus. So he's suddenly rich, and he's a celebrity in the pro athlete world. However, in spite of all his success, it just isn't enough for Aaron. Because he's also kind of a turd. Like, he often misses important stuff like workouts or sessions with the trainer. He surrounds himself with a bunch of criminals and people who are always getting into trouble. He also parties a lot and he does a lot of drugs. Mostly smokes a lot of Zaza and he takes painkillers. But that's not even his biggest problem. His biggest problem is that over time, he starts getting really paranoid. Like, he's increasingly worried that dangerous people from the rough circles he's running around in might come after him. And so he starts carrying a pew-pew everywhere with him. Then, one night in 2012, shit gets really crazy because Aaron goes out clubbing with this guy, Alexander. And Alexander is Aaron's friend, and so they're out at this club drinking and, having a good time. And at some point, a random guy, boom, accidentally bumps into Aaron and it makes him spill his drink on himself. And instead of shrugging this off as an accident, Aaron sees this as a huge diss. And he gets pissed at this random guy, and he is not gonna let this go. And so Alexander takes him outside to calm him down, and I guess he does calm down a little bit. But when they walk back to the parking garage, Aaron sees the guy who bumped into him and his friend leaving the club. And Aaron just snaps again, and he's like, "Fuck those guys. Let's follow them and teach them a lesson." And Alexander's like, "All right." And so they get in their car and they follow them, and they eventually pull up next to them. And that is when, allegedly, Aaron pulls out that pew-pew he always carries with him now, and he aims it at the guy's car, and bam, 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 he fires 5 shots at the guys. And then skirt, they speed away. And unfortunately, the 2 guys don't survive the shooting. But apparently no one saw Aaron himself do it, and so no one suspects it was him. I mean, he's a pro football player. Why would they suspect him of a drive-by shooting? And so he gets away with murder, allegedly. Now, you would think that after something that intense, that maybe bro would chill out for a little bit. However, no. Because over time, Aaron's behavior actually gets worse, and he gets more and more paranoid, and he acts more and more erratic. And so the next year, in 2013, he's in Florida at a strip club hanging out with Alexander again. And after they leave the club, they're driving home, and Alexander realizes he forgot his phone back inside. And for whatever reason, Aaron refuses to go back to get Alexander's phone. I guess he's just like being a dick. And so they get into an argument. And allegedly, during this argument, Alexander brings up Aaron unaliving those two guys that night after the club. And so boom, Aaron starts flipping the fuck out. But instead of doing anything right then, he waits. And eventually, Alexander falls asleep in the car. And that is when Aaron pulls over to a parking lot and he takes out his pew-pew and blam, he shoots Alexander right in the face. Then he drags him out of the car and he dumps him in the parking lot. Now, somehow, Alexander actually survives, but he loses his eye, and ultimately, he doesn't report who shot him to the police because I guess he's like a real gangster and he doesn't want to be considered a snitch. I don't know. These people are weird. And if that isn't bad enough, Aaron isn't done, because he continues to act more and more erratic. It's like he's determined to get caught. And so one night, that same year, Aaron and a buddy and a couple of women that are with them, they're partying in Aaron's apartment. And Aaron's buddy is this guy, Odin. And so they're at the apartment, and Odin sees that Aaron has a bunch of pew-pews and ammo stashed there. And I guess he asks them about them, like no one actually really knows what was said in this conversation. But whatever it is, it really sets off Aaron's paranoia. Plus, apparently, Odin knows that Aaron unalived those two guys back in 2012. And so Aaron suddenly gets really nervous that Odin knows too much about him, and he isn't gonna let this slide. And so, over the next few days, Aaron obsesses over this, and he gets crazy worked up over it, and finally, he decides that he's gonna do something about it. And he comes up with a plan to unalive Odin. And so one night, I guess they all make plans to hang out, and Aaron joins up with two friends, and they all drive to go pick up Odin. And so they pick him up, and Aaron drives the four of them about a mile over to an industrial park. And there, I guess they decide to smoke a little Zaza, and so they're like hitting this blunt. And that is when suddenly Aaron takes out his pew-pew and he points it at Odin, and blam, blam, he shoots him several times. And Odin dies immediately. Then they dump his body near a construction pile, and they flee the scene, and Aaron and his buddies drive back to his house. And no one saw anything, no outside witnesses or anything like that, so it seems like Aaron is about to get away with murder again. Until... later that morning, a jogger is taking a shortcut home, and he runs by the industrial park. And this jogger just happens to spot Odin's body lying there, unalive. And so he reports it to the police. Now the police, they immediately start investigating. And they come out and they find a footprint at the scene and a bunch of other evidence, including a piece of a blunt from some of that Zaza they were smoking. And on that blunt is a little DNA. Aaron's DNA. And so police get a warrant, and they search Aaron's house where they find a bunch more evidence, and so, bam, they arrest him. Here's some actual footage of the arrest. And also, here's his mugshot. Now, while police are investigating Odin's murder, they also find a car at Aaron's cousin's house that's linked to the shooting he did of those two guys back in 2012. And so he gets charged with those murders too. And ultimately, both the goons that he murdered Odin with, they get convicted and they're sentenced to 4 to 7 years in prison. While Aaron, ultimately, he actually gets acquitted for the murders done in 2012. Although it's widely believed that he actually did, in fact, murder those guys. However, regarding the other murder he's actually accused of, Odin's murder, he actually is convicted of that, and for that he's sentenced to life in prison. And about 2 years later, he unalives himself in his prison cell with a bedsheet. And afterwards, his family donated his brain to science, where researchers at Boston University found that he had a severe case of CTE, which is, of course, the brain disease that a lot of football players get from being hit in the head so many times, which explains a lot of his paranoia and erratic behavior. Also, he was apparently secretly gay. Like, if you care about that aspect of his life, I don't know. A lot of people do.
As soon as I heard paranoia, reckless activities, and just a lot of rage and irritability, I was like, yeah, this dude definitely got CTE. It was more of a situation where he was like, he also was apparently on painkillers, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know if he was like doing it like recreationally, if he was prescribed it, but from what I know, people that take painkillers, they're pretty erratic. Like, they act really weird, we could say. So yeah, at the end of the day, he's probably just a dickhead, but he did have like severe CTE, so it makes sense.
President Trump just signed the Take It Down Act into law. It makes it illegal to share non-consensual explicit images online, whether they're real or AI generated.
Anyone who intentionally distributes explicit images without the subject's consent will face up to 3 years in prison.
It also requires tech platforms to remove those images within 48 hours of being notified about them. It was passed on a bipartisan basis, and First Lady Melania Trump also threw her support behind the law, appearing at the Rose Garden signing.
It's a powerful step forward in our efforts to ensure that every American, especially young people, can feel better protected from their image or identity being abused.
In recent years, everyone from Taylor Swift to AOC to high school girls have had their faces superimposed on nude bodies using AI. This new law criminalizes sharing those images so that victims could go after the people posting them. It's also one of the first federal efforts to address the dark sides of AI as the technology rapidly advances.
Bro, what did Pope Leo just do to the world? This weekend, the Pope delivered his very first address in which he appealed to the world's powerful and praying for the miracle of global peace. And then, on Monday, we wake up to the news that India and Pakistan have pulled back from the brink of war and agreed to a ceasefire. The United States and China met in Switzerland and finally agreed to a deal, and both of them will now reduce their tariffs by 114%. The Kurdish military group PKK announced plans to disarm and dissolve after 40 years of fighting with Turkey, which has ended the lives of over 40,000 people. The United States met with Iran and both committed to finding ways to address their differences. And then finally, a number of European leaders gathered in Ukraine to deliver Russia an ultimatum: agree to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire or face massive new sanctions. And then last night, for the first time in years, Putin has offered to meet Zelensky face to face this week in Turkey, an offer that Trump urged Zelensky to immediately accept. All of that one weekend. So the question is, was the Pope poping, or would this all have happened regardless?
I mean, that's good. We can end the week off on a good note, you know what I'm saying? A lot of things seem like they're making a U-turn, you know what I'm saying? It looked like we were en route for war, but now it kind of looks like everything is kind of cooling down a little bit, as it should be. So, you know what I'm saying? That's always amazing. That's always amazing. But anyways, we're close to 20 channel members. Let's try to get to 20 channel members. That'd be amazing. I'm going to see if I could do and integrate more things with my channel members, because, you know what I'm saying, you guys are literally amazing. Like, it's crazy to think that I actually have 20 channel members. Like, 20 is just crazy to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's obviously people with like hundreds and stuff, but like, I'm good with 20. This video should be coming out on Friday. So my upload schedule, if you guys don't know, is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm trying to hit all those 4 days every single week. At least I'm trying to. If not, I'm gonna let you guys know in my community. And then Saturdays are usually like my weekly recap. It's pretty much just like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday's videos combined into one. A lot of people that work long hours claim to really like my weekly recap, so it's just literally like the whole week in just one video, instead of them have to like keep looking for the, you know what I'm saying, keep looking for the other videos. So a lot of people do like those, although some of you guys be like, dude, why don't you just make a brand new video instead of just weekly recapping it? But you know what I'm saying, I have had a lot of comments of people generally liking my weekly recap, so that's why I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday brand new videos, and then Saturday just all of those videos in one, because a lot of people don't really have time to be, you know what I'm saying, looking for the different videos I'm making. Some of my highest view counts are from my weekly recaps, so I feel like it'd be very stupid for me not to do it, you know what I'm saying? So as I've already watched the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, then you don't have to watch the Saturdays, because it's basically the same thing but in just one big format. But again, some of you guys also really love rewatching the content that I post, just in case you miss a couple videos, or you know what I'm saying, like you just want something to have on in the background when you're about to go to sleep. A lot of you guys like to rewatch it, so you know what I'm saying, the weekly recap, it's never any, I don't feel like it's ever a bad thing to repost just a longer version of what I posted in the week. So I just want to make that clear. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, that's usually when I'm trying to post. And then Saturday is just around like 12 p.m. all the way to 4 p.m. is usually the weekly recap, and then boom, you know what I'm saying, repeat. So that's the schedule that I'm operating on right now. If anything changes, I'm gonna let you guys know, but I'm gonna try to consistently hit that. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm gonna consistently hit that every single day for the next 10 years. Because you know what I'm saying, this is life, things happen. So I'm gonna definitely see if I could just consistently do that for like the next year. If you guys liked the video, remember we're trying to hit 2,000 likes this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to smash that subscribe button. We're 800 away from 60k and 30,000 away from 100,000. I'm trying to hit that 100k so bad. I might even throw like a vlog party for that, if I'm being honest, or something. Since y'all smashed that like button like I know you did, YouTube said y'all would love this video right here, so please click on it. It's probably better than this one. I mean, I don't know, this one was pretty good, so